another reader writes in and says, I've been married for 32 years. I am committed to my marriage. The problem is, how do I get across to my husband his money spending behavior will or could end us in trouble? I have tried to communicate my feelings. He still continues on spending. He makes promises but breaks them. I want to honor God in my marriage, so do you have any suggestions so my bitterness and resentment don't continue to take hold? I have confessed these things before God, and I have prayed about how God wants to change my heart. Also, I believe his spending has more to do with an addiction than a want of things. He has from time to time gambled our money away. Please help and give me some direction. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we don't give specific advice in these videos because we don't know you, and we don't know really all the facts. But based on what we're hearing here, we can hopefully share some principles. And it sounds to me like really it's the same principle as any other issue that crops up in people's lives, whether it's addiction to gambling or spending or lack of discipline, alcoholism. They all have different outcomes as far as the cause and effect of the behavior, but they're in principle we're dealing with the same thing. You're dealing with a spouse that is handling something in a way that perhaps is not the wise way to do it, or maybe it's even very, very, very bad. And so what can you do? It just goes back to praying for wisdom. So again, specifics are kind of hard to do without talking to both people. But the general principle of detachment, we've written on that. We have books on that. We have other books on, the principle of allowing the captain to steer the ship, even if it goes on the rocks. He is the captain, right? Look, some men are not going to learn by their wives nagging at them, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to say it that way, but I'm just trying to show a picture here. All the arguing and fussing in the world a lot of times makes it worse, because it just makes the other person become defensive, and when they do that, they just reinforce their position. It's like a tug-of-war. Each person tugs stronger on their end. They're trying to win the argument, and so you need to stop the fussing. And I would say, as a principle, that would be the first thing. And the minute you quit fussing, all of a sudden you let go of that rope on the other tug-of-war, what happens to the other side? They fall down. And that's what they need. They need to fall down, and they need to realize, oops, uh-oh, and that's the principle.
It's the same principle of how to deal with an alcoholic. Stop tugging, let go of the rope.
Which means
fall down.
Which means you need to be prepared for that fall. That's the other side of that coin. And as difficult as that sounds, the spouse needs to be prepared for the eventuality that she is fearing. She has fear of what could happen because of this sloppy money management. And she can do things to protect herself and her family or whatever, I suppose.
Well, she says that she wants to honor God in her marriage. And so being a helpmate to her husband, she can be supportive by making out a nice budget for him to focus on and keep, depending on how much money they make or, what the income is in the household. And she can have it not only posted up in the kitchen on the refrigerator, but he can keep some in his pocket, and so he has it to look back on.
So you're saying that they could work together, I would say.
That's right.
If they were if you know, we talked about don't fuss and all, but if he's willing to sit down and talk, obviously he makes promises and breaks them. The thing to do is sit down, do a budget, and then when he breaks it, he broke the budget. It's his, you know, look, he has to pay the consequence of that, and you knowing that that's what's going to happen can be prepared, and at the same time you can you know, be a supportive wife. But the bottom line, if it gets really, really bad, you know, it's just like any other scenario where he needs to realize his error. And so
That's how we learn.
that's some people won't learn until they bang
mistakes.
they get enough knots on their head. There's no room for any more knots.
Okay, now.
Thanks for coming. Hope that helps, and be blessed in the Lord. Glad to help. HeavenMinistries.com. Have a blessed day.